Picture this. You finally bought the cast iron pan everyone swears by, and it stuck, it rusted, and half your dinner welded itself to the bottom. Here's the thing. The Italian grandmothers who cooked on the very same iron pan for 50 years knew how to make it more non-stick than anything money can buy, and they never wrote it down. Today we're counting down 31 clever Italian nonna cast iron tricks that actually work. And stay for number 1, the splash of water trick that cleans a filthy pan in about 10 seconds. No soap, no scrubbing. By the time we get there, you'll never want to cook on anything else. Let's get into it. Number 31. Before any food touches it, heat the empty pan slowly and fully. This is the mistake behind almost every "my cast iron sticks" complaint. Unlike a thin non-stick pan, cast iron heats unevenly at first. The middle gets hot while the edges are still cold, and food grabs onto those cold spots. A nonna never rushed it. She'd set the empty pan over medium heat for 4 or 5 full minutes, letting the whole surface come up to one even temperature before anything went in. Patience at the start is the whole game. Give a big pan a full 5 minutes over medium, a smaller one 3 or 4, and never blast it on high, straight from cold, or the middle scorches while the edges lag behind. And there's a simple way to know the exact second it's ready. Number 30. To know your pan is perfectly hot, flick a few drops of water on it. This little test looks like a magic trick, and it's pure physics. When the pan is not hot enough, the water just sits there and slowly bubbles. But when it's at that perfect searing heat, the drops pull into little silver beads and skate across the surface like tiny marbles. A nonna read her pan this way without a thermometer in sight. When the water dances, the pan is ready. And the moment it dances is exactly when the next trick comes in. If bringing back these old kitchen secrets sounds good to you, do me a favor and subscribe. We're bringing back the tricks Nonna never wrote down. Number 29. Get the pan hot first, then add the oil. Never the other way around. Most people pour oil into a cold pan and heat them together, and that's why food sticks and the oil turns gummy. A nonna heated the pan first, waited for the water to dance, and only then added a thin film of oil, swirling it just before the food went in. Hot metal, then oil, then food, fast. Use an oil that likes high heat. Light olive oil or the vegetable oil she kept beside the stove. Not butter, which would only scorch and turn bitter at that temperature. That split-second layer of hot oil is what creates a slick, non-stick surface that even eggs slide right across. And what you cook first matters just as much, which brings us to the next one. Number 28. Never crowd the pan. Cook in batches. Pile too much in at once and the temperature crashes, the food releases water, and instead of a golden sear, you get sad, gray steam. A nonna would rather cook meat or eggplant in 2 or 3 small batches than ruin it all in one crowded mess. Leave space around each piece so the heat stays high and the moisture escapes. It takes 5 more minutes, and it's the difference between browned and boiled. And once you've got that beautiful browning, do not waste what it leaves behind. Number 27. After you sear, make your sauce right in the same pan. Those dark, sticky bits stuck to the bottom after browning meat look like a cleaning problem. To a nonna, they were dinner. She'd pour a splash of wine or broth into the still-hot pan and scrape all those browned bits loose with a wooden spoon. They dissolve into a deep, instant sauce with a flavor you simply cannot buy. Cast iron holds heat so beautifully that it does this better than any other pan. Speaking of that heat, it hides a superpower most people never use. Number 26. Cast iron holds heat so well it can sear even straight from the fridge. A thin pan loses all its heat the second cold food hits it. Cast iron is thick and heavy, and it stores a huge amount of heat in that iron, what she'd call its weight and you'd call thermal mass. So when a cold steak or a cold slice of eggplant lands on a properly preheated pan, the temperature barely drops and you still get a gorgeous crust. A thin aluminum pan sags to lukewarm the instant that cold meat touches it. The heavy iron shrugs it off and keeps searing. That heavy pan you complain about carrying is exactly why it gives you a steakhouse crust at home. And that same pan does something a nonstick never could. Number 25. Start a frittata on the stove and finish it in the oven. Same pan, no swapping. This is the trick that makes cast iron worth its weight. Because the whole pan, handle and all, is solid iron. It goes straight from the burner into a hot oven. A nonna would pour her eggs over sautéed vegetables on the stovetop, let the bottom set, then slide the whole pan into the oven to puff the top golden. One pan, no flipping, no second dish. And once you know the pan is oven-proof, the next trick turns it into a bakery. Number 24. For chicken with shatteringly crisp skin, cook it under a brick. This is an old Italian trick. Pollo al mattone, chicken under a brick. And once you see it, you'll never roast chicken flat again. A nonna would lay a flattened chicken skin down in the hot pan, then press it with a second heavy pan or a foil-wrapped brick on top. That weight presses every bit of skin flat against the screaming iron, so it crisps up evenly, edge to edge, while the meat stays juicy. Heavy is a feature, not a flaw. And that oven-proof iron has one more trick that beats a pizza stone. Number 23. For pizza or bread with a crackling bottom crust, preheat the empty pan inside the oven first. A pizza stone is really just a way to hit the dough with instant, fierce heat from below. Cast iron does the exact same thing for free. A nonna would leave the empty pan heating in the hot oven for 10 or 15 minutes, then lay the dough straight onto the blazing surface. Crank the oven as high as it will go, around 500 degrees, and let that heavy pan soak up the heat like a battery before the dough ever arrives. The bottom sets and crisps the instant it touches down, giving you that bakery-style crust at home. And that fierce, even heat is also the secret to the crispiest focaccia. Number 22. The crispiest focaccia and cornbread come from a screaming hot, oiled pan. If your focaccia comes out pale and soft on the bottom, this is why. A nonna would heat the pan with a generous slick of good olive oil until it was almost smoking, then pour the dough or batter right in. It sizzles the moment it lands, and that instant heat fries the bottom into a deep golden, crunchy crust while the inside stays pillowy. Cold pan, soft bread. Hot pan, crackling crust. And that crisping power works wonders on more than just bread. Number 21. Cutlets and eggplant come out crispier in cast iron because it recovers its heat so fast. When you drop breaded cutlets into a thin pan, the temperature plummets and they sit there soaking up oil and going soggy. Cast iron holds and bounces back its heat almost instantly, so the crust seals and fries the second it touches down, and far less oil sneaks in. A nonna fried her breaded eggplant and veal in iron for exactly this reason. Shatteringly crisp outside, tender in, never greasy. And here's a place that same pan shines that will surprise you. Number 20. For roast potatoes with shattering edges, heat the fat in the pan before the potatoes go in. Everyone roasts potatoes in a cold tray and wonders why they're pale and soft. A nonna knew the secret was a screaming hot pan and hot fat waiting for them. She'd heat olive oil or fat right in the cast iron until it shimmered, then add the potatoes so they hissed the moment they landed. The real secret to the craggiest edges is to parboil them for about 10 minutes first and rough them up in the colander so their soft, fluffy surface catches the hot fat and shatters into crunch in the oven. That instant blast of heat crisps the outsides into golden, craggy edges while the inside goes fluffy. And the next trick will change how you reheat leftovers forever. Number 19. Reheat leftover pizza in a dry cast iron pan, never the microwave. The microwave turns leftover pizza into a sad, soggy, floppy disappointment. A Nonna's way brings it back to life. Set a slice in a dry, cold cast iron pan. Put it over medium heat for 3 or 4 minutes, and the bottom crust crisps right back up while the cheese slowly melts on top. It comes out better than sad delivery leftovers have any right to be. Watch the base go crackly again. And that gentle, even heat makes the pan a secret dessert weapon too. Number 18. Bake an apple cake or a crostata right in the cast iron pan. Because the iron heats so evenly and holds it so steadily, it caramelizes the edges of a cake or fruit tart like almost nothing else. A Nonna would build a simple apple cake right in the buttered pan and bake it, and the outside would turn deep golden and caramelized while the middle stayed soft. Straight from oven to table, in the same beautiful pan. Now, before we get to how she cleaned it, let me show you the part everyone gets wrong. If your own Nonna cooked on a pan like this, subscribe and cook along with us. The best tricks are still coming. Number 17. Use a wooden spoon, not metal, especially while the pan is young. On a fresh or newly seasoned pan, sharp metal utensils scrape and gouge that thin black layer of seasoning you've worked to build up, and the food starts sticking again. A Nonna stirred and turned with a worn wooden spoon that glided over the surface without ever cutting into it. As the pan ages and the seasoning gets thick and tough, you can be rougher. But early on, treat that black coating gently. And that black coating is the whole reason the next trick works. Number 16. Clean it with coarse salt and a drop of oil. No soap needed. Here's what makes cast iron different. Soap and scrubbing strip away the seasoning you've built. So a Nonna cleaned hers a smarter way. While the pan was still warm, she'd toss in a spoonful of coarse salt and a few drops of oil and scrub with a wad of paper towel or a cloth. The salt acts like a gentle scouring powder, lifting stuck food right off while the oil protects the surface. Give it a quick rinse with hot water after if you like, but keep the dish soap and the steel wool away. Those are exactly what strip a pan back to bare, sticky metal. It comes clean and stays seasoned. And the very next step is the one that saves your pan from rust. Number 15. The second you rinse it, dry it. Then dry it again on the flame. Water is cast iron's only real enemy. Leave a pan wet in the rack and you'll find orange rust by morning. A Nonna never let that happen. After a quick rinse, she'd towel it dry, then set it back on the burner for 60 seconds so the heat drove off every last hidden drop. Bone dry every time. And once it's dry, one tiny final touch keeps it black and beautiful. Number 14. After every wash, rub in 1 drop of oil while the pan is still warm. This is the little ritual that builds a lifetime of nonstick. A Nonna would take a paper towel with a single drop of oil on it and wipe the whole warm surface until it looked barely damp and had a soft sheen. That thin film soaks into the iron, adding 1 more fine layer to the seasoning each time and sealing the metal from moisture. Wipe it almost dry. A greasy pan goes sticky. And if you want to build that seasoning from scratch, here's exactly how. Number 13. To season a bare pan yourself, bake thin layers of oil into it. If a pan is dull, sticky, or brand new, a Nonna would rebuild its surface with heat and patience. Rub a very thin coat of oil over the whole pan, wipe it back until it looks almost dry, then bake it upside down at around 450 degrees for an hour and let it cool inside. The heat transforms the oil into a hard, glassy, natural nonstick layer bonded to the iron. Do it 2 or 3 times and the pan turns black and slick. And that layer only gets better with age. Number 12. Never, ever put cast iron in the dishwasher. 1 cycle in there will undo years of care. The harsh detergent strips every bit of seasoning, and the long soak leaves the bare iron sitting wet, so it comes out dull, gray, and often already spotted with rust. Nonna would have gasped at the very idea. Cast iron is cleaned by hand, dried by heat, and oiled by love, never drowned in a machine. And there's one more thing that can crack a pan you'd never expect. Number 11. Never plunge a screaming hot pan into cold water. It's tempting, when a pan is filthy and hot, to run it under the cold tap and hear it hiss. Don't. That sudden shock from very hot to very cold makes the iron contract so fast it can warp the pan or even crack it clean through. She called it giving the pan a fright. Nonna let her pan cool down on its own before it ever met water. Gentle changes, long life. And speaking of a long life, the next trick is about keeping it perfect between meals. Number 10. Store it with a folded paper towel sitting inside. Even a well-dried pan can pick up a little moisture from the air in a cupboard, especially in a damp kitchen, and that's all rust needs to start. Nonna would tuck a folded paper towel or a clean cloth inside the pan before putting it away. It quietly wicks up any moisture and keeps the cooking surface dry and spotless until the next time. Such a tiny habit, and it saves the pan. And here's a safety one that saves your hands. Number 9. Remember, the handle is exactly as hot as the pan. Always grab it with a towel. This is the burn that catches everyone, because on the stove, the iron handle looks harmless, but it's conducting every bit of that heat, and after a trip through the oven, it's blistering. Nonna kept a folded towel looped over her handle or hanging right beside the stove, and she never touched bare iron without it. Make it a habit before you make it a scar. Now, back to the magic, because a well-loved pan does something a new one can't. Number 8. A truly well-seasoned pan is naturally non-stick. An egg will slide right across it. This is the payoff for all that care. And it genuinely amazes people who've only known chemical non-stick pans. When the seasoning is built up thick and smooth over months of use, Nonna could fry an egg in a little butter and watch it glide around the pan like it was on glass, then slide clean onto the plate. The trick is a little butter and medium heat, not high. Too hot, and even a perfect pan will grab a fried egg. No. Sticking, no chemicals, just iron and time. And time is the real secret ingredient here. Number 7. The older the pan gets, the better it cooks, which is why she guarded hers. A brand new cast iron pan is honestly just okay. But every single time you cook in it, another whisper-thin layer of seasoning bakes on, and slowly, over years, it becomes blacker, slicker, and more non-stick than anything you could buy. Nonna's decades-old pan was a masterpiece built by 10,000 dinners. That's why she'd never lend it out or scrub it bare. You can't buy that. You can only cook it. And that patience pays off in a place most people get badly wrong. Number 6. You can cook tomato sauce in cast iron, just quickly, and only in a mature pan. Here's the nuance nobody explains. Acidic foods like tomato slowly eat away at the seasoning and can pick up a faint metallic taste, which is why a long, all-day sugo is a bad idea in bare or new iron. But Nonna would happily do a quick 15-minute tomato sauté in her old, thickly seasoned pan with no problem at all. Short and mature, fine. Long and new, don't. And that same iron does a job you'd expect only from an oven. Number 5. Turn your pan into a bread oven by trapping steam under a lid. Bakery bread gets its crackling crust from steam, and Nonna could make that at home with 2 pieces of iron. She'd bake her dough in the pan with a heavy lid or a second pan clamped on top, so the bread's own moisture turned to steam and got trapped against the crust. It works exactly like the expensive cast iron Dutch ovens the bakeries swear by. 2 of her old pans clamped together did the very same job for nothing. The result is a loaf with a deep, crackling, professional shell. And the pan that makes bread like that becomes something more than a tool. Number 4. Cook acidic and delicate foods with the heat matched to the job. Gentle for eggs, fierce for a sear. A cast iron pan isn't one setting. It's a range, and knowing it is what separates a good cook from a frustrated one. Nonna kept the flame low and patient for eggs and delicate fish, so they cooked tenderly without catching, and cranked it high and let the pan get truly hot for steak, cutlets, and vegetables she wanted deeply browned. The pan will do anything. You just have to tell it what. And the last two are the ones that turn a pan into an heirloom. Number 3. Rescue a rusty, forgotten pan and bring it completely back to life. Do not throw away a rusty old pan from the back of a cupboard or a flea market. To a Nonna, that was treasure. She'd scrub the rust away with coarse salt or steel wool if it was bad, wash and dry it thoroughly, then season it fresh with those thin baked layers of oil. What starts as an orange, dead lump of iron comes back as a smooth, black, working pan. Watch a ruined pan reborn. Iron practically never truly dies, which is exactly why the next one matters so much. Number 2. One good cast iron pan, cared for like this, outlives you and gets passed down. This is what makes it different from every other pan in your kitchen. A non-stick pan wears out in a couple of years and hits the bin. A cast iron pan, seasoned and loved, only gets better, and a Nonna's pan often came from her own mother and went on to her grandchildren. Blacker and slicker with every generation, carrying 50 years of Sunday dinners in its surface. You're not buying a pan, you're starting an heirloom. And now, the number 1 trick, the one that looks like a magic show. Number 1. To clean even a filthy, crusted pan in seconds, pour a splash of water into it while it's still screaming hot. This is the one that makes people gasp. When the pan is still ripping hot from cooking, a Nonna would pour in a little water and stand back. It hits the surface and instantly erupts into a violent, bubbling steam, and that steam blasts every stuck-on, burnt-on bit loose from the iron in about 10 seconds. Then a quick scrape with a wooden spoon, a wipe with a cloth, and the pan is spotless. No soap, no soaking overnight, no scrubbing your arm off. It works because the boiling water and steam lift the food off the metal in one shot. Just keep your hands and face back from that first burst of steam, and only ever do this with cast iron. A delicate glass or ceramic pan would crack, but the iron loves it. Try it once and you'll never fight a dirty pan again. So there they are. 31 clever tricks the Italian grandmothers used to turn a heavy black pan into the most treasured tool in the kitchen. And when you lay them all out, you see what cast iron really was to her. It wasn't just a pan. It was patience made solid, something that rewarded care, forgave nothing rushed, and gave back more the longer you loved it. She fed a whole family from that one piece of iron, made it more non-stick than any factory ever could, and then handed it down, still working, still black, still hers. We live in a world that throws pans away every couple of years. She kept one for 50 and passed it on. So let me leave you with this. Do you still have a pan or a pot that belonged to your mother or your Nonna? And are you still cooking with it? Tell me down below, and let's keep this wisdom from disappearing. Subscribe and cook along with us as we bring back the tricks the world was starting to forget.